Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Roscoe's recap, and this viewing party was for season 18 episode 3, and the guests this week were Carson Kressley and Mandy Mango. So today we're going to be talking about, was Mandy Mango set up to fail in this week's episode? Mandy says who the messiest queen on the cast is, and Carson Kressley reveals his least favourite guest judge of all time and why. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Okay, they started out with Naysha saying you might be wondering why she's been on her best behaviour so far, and she said it's because two of the Drag Race producers and World of Wonder co-founders were in the audience at Roscoe's that night, namely Tom Campbell and Fenton Bailey, and everyone cheered for them. They talked about this week's challenge, which was RDR Live, and they asked Mandy how she felt about it. Mandy said some queens like Juicy Love Dion were really nervous for this challenge, but Mandy wasn't, because it was a very high energy challenge which she was excited for, but she says, now looking back at it, she wonders why she chose the character of an old Amish lady who churns butter. Host Batty Davis said, during the part where the queens were fighting over which roles they wanted, we saw that Jane Don't and Athena Dion had a bit of a tiff, so what was the energy like in the room? Mandy joked and said, quote, I think we all enjoy seeing Athena break a little, and she's very easy to break at the seams. So a lot of the time, Mandy thinks they all just disagreed with Athena for the fun of it. But the tension between Jane and Athena was real, because they both really wanted to play the mother character. They then watched RDR Live, and Batty asked Mandy what part of the challenge she found the hardest. Mandy said trying to find all of the notes in between the lines was the hardest, and figuring out how to flesh out the character with the physical comedy and the mannerisms, but still make it funny, and the audience agreed that Mandy did a good job. Carson said the producers do a great job of always coming up with fun content for the show even after 18 years. And we all know that often in acting challenges, some roles aren't as good as others and it can drag down your group. But in Mandy's group, Carson thinks everyone was strong. Naysha asked Mandy how much of it was scripted and how much was improv. Mandy said the lines, the hat throwing off and the breasts were part of the script, but everything else was down to personal interpretation, and you were also able to ad-lib. Cara asked if they got to watch the other group's scenes, but Mandy said no, they only got to see each other practice in the workroom, so they kind of knew what the scenes were about, but watching this episode now was the first time they got to see the full thing. There was a VIP question which was, which scene Mandy would have liked to have been in other than her own, and Mandy said the lipstick scene because they had really good material. They then watched the bit later in the workroom when Jane Don't was getting upset because she felt like she was going to be in the top again and that the other queens were going to be annoyed at her for being in the top for the third time. So Naysha jokingly asked Mandy if she felt bad for Jane for doing well, and people laughed. Mandy laughed and said, quote, the tears were just welling up for the front runner of season 18. Having been in the bottom twice and hearing that, I was like, girl, Jane, don't do that. Mandy joked that she can empathise with the pressure, but also, being in Mandy's position being in the bottom, she was like, quote, girl, shut the F up, you did fine, you did so good, so I don't feel bad for her. They then went through the runway looks for this week, saying whether they would give the outfits 10s or a chop, and the category was animal attraction. When they got to Kenya Pleaser, Naysha said, quote, next one we have Kenya Pleaser as Puss in Boots, and everyone laughed. Naysha joked that when she saw it, all she could think of was Puss in Boots, and then she did that walk. Naysha said, quote, stop it, and most of them gave the look a chop. They watched the judges' critiques, and at Roscoe's, most of them had said they thought Mandy was good and they were worried about Juicy, whereas in the critiques, the judges loved Juicy and she was clearly in the top, whereas Mandy was in the bottom, and the judges said that she did too much and it wasn't in keeping with the Amish character, so that was totally the opposite of what they thought at Roscoe's. Naysha asked Mandy what it felt like watching the judges' critiques, because some of the critiques, like when the judges talk amongst themselves, the queens have never heard that before. Mandy said her struggle was balancing the character and what was in the script and making the character come to life. Mandy revealed that the script did say, quote, "Open up your shirt and show your tits." However, Mandy said it didn't necessarily mean rip open your shirt and show off your nipple as an old lady, so that's where Mandy thinks the critique came from. There has been a lot of chatter about this on social media, with people saying they think Mandy was kind of set up to fail, because even if she had played it more conservative, the judges would have told her that she didn't do enough and still put her in the bottom, so either way people think she was going to be in the bottom. Clips of this part of Roscoe's were posted on social media, and people were saying that Mandy was set up because the script literally told her to show her breasts, but then she got put in the bottom for it, which further added to people saying that they think Mandy was set up to fail. Going back to Roscoe's, Mandy thinks that she was giving, quote, kooky, goofy, sexy, and the audience cheered and agreed with her. Mandy had previously said that she is from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which has a big Amish community. So Mandy said she had seen a few of the Amish ladies doing things like that, so she thought her performance was accurate, and she said, quote, "Mama, they're milking more than the cows out there," although I think this part was probably a joke. They then got to the part of the episode where Mandy was in the bottom and got eliminated, and everyone clapped and cheered for Mandy. Mandy explained her exit line, which was, quote, "Mangoes can be eaten, mangoes can be slurped. Cheers to all the lovers who make our mangoes burst." And Mandy said that this is a toast that she does at all of her shows. Naysha asked Mandy what was her thought process when she was announced as being in the bottom and lip-syncing while wearing a deer outfit. Mandy joked that she was giving herself more things that she had to take off for the lip-sync, a bit like last episode when she was dressed as a table and had to take it off. But Mandy said every time she was in the bottom, she just, quote, "got deeper and deeper in my head, if I'm being honest." Although she said she has a good memory of the lip sync she did last episode, with this week's lip sync, she can't really remember anything about it because she just, quote, "blacked out," so she wasn't sure what they were going to see in the episode. Carson added that when you're there on set, it's not as fast as what you see on TV. For example, when you're in the bottom, you have to stand there and they come and take your mic off and they do a sound check. So it's about 5 or 6 minutes when you're just standing there in your head thinking, quote, "Oh F, what is going on?" Mandy agreed and said you're standing there in your heels after having heard all of the critiques, and there's a team almost a bit like a boxing match, and they come over to you with a fan and water, and the song is just blaring, which is the sound check. So you have to just try and tune everything out and focus on the song. But in terms of the lip sync, Mandy couldn't see what Briar Blush was doing during the lip sync, but all she could see out the corner of her eye was, quote, "just a girl in a bra and panty flinging her leg around." So Mandy can't say whether she won that lip sync or not, but, quote, "I'll just say that I had a full deer outfit underneath my look." During Untucked, they showed that Mia Starr had a nice message for Mandy when she was eliminated. Mandy said it was very surreal because they were all dressed as animals and looked crazy, so she has this memory of Mia trying to console her while dressed as a poodle. Mandy then said, quote, "Of the entire cast, I feel like Mia was the only person who really truly saw me as someone who deserved to be on that cast." After having been in the bottom 3 times, Mia could tell that Mandy was really getting in her head, but during the girl group challenge, Mia came up to Mandy and told her that she's a really good dancer and performer, which Mandy really appreciated because Mia is a professional choreographer, so she said that she and Mia really clicked on set. Naysha asked if Mandy still feels like the others didn't see her as competition, or was that just during the show? Mandy said now she realises that she's a star, and she understands herself a lot more since being on the show. But the thing is, when you're on set, you don't have anyone else to ask or your usual support group, and she joked that, quote, "You just have you, your thoughts, and 13 other B-words who want to see you lose." They moved on to the Q&A and they had a video question submitted by Melinda Verga from Canada's Drag Race and the upcoming UK versus the World. Melinda's question was, what are their thoughts on the money it takes to put together a runway package for Drag Race? And do they think the price tag discourages talented people from participating in the show? Mandy said a lot of the queens spend so much money on their runway packages because they want to look good on TV. However, Mandy thinks that she and a few other queens on this season have shown that you don't need to spend a lot of money to be on the show, especially if you can make your own outfits, or as long as the designer you use makes things look good, but it doesn't have to be really expensive. Host Caramel mentioned a great example of this, which is Raja O'Hara, who has previously stated that she only spent $1,500 on season 11, $600 for All Stars 6, and then $2,000 on Canada versus the World, which she ended up winning. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to compete, especially if you can make the outfits yourself. Carson said that drag should not be about being the most expensive because drag was born out of necessity, and although finishing touches do matter, it's more about the way you put it all together. And he mentioned that on one of the seasons of All Stars, one of the queens had a, quote, bedazzled camo cape, which Carson thought looked very familiar, and it turned out that it came from a Valentino runway show. But Carson said that it is, quote, very off-putting, because this isn't something that you created, and outfits that are created by mainstream fashion designers like Valentino don't have the, quote, spirit of camp and creativity and sense of humour that drag does. They asked which queen it was and they thought it was Gottmik, but Carson said it was not Gottmik, but he did not want to say the queen's name. I did a Google to see if I could find which queen he was referring to, and the only queen that came up was this outfit that Shea Coulee wore on All Stars 7, which was from Valentino's Fall/Winter 2019 Haute Couture collection. So it might be Shea that Carson was referring to, but this is just a guess and is not confirmed. Another VIP question for Mandy was, which queen was messier off camera than on camera? And also, which queen pulled it together when the cameras were rolling, but was a train wreck behind the scenes? Mandy said in terms of messy, as in clutter in the workroom, it was Sierra Mist. But the messiest personality and drama-wise was Briar Blush. In fact, Mandy thought Briar knew a lot of the queens like Athena from before because of the way she was kikiing with them, but apparently Athena said to her, quote, "Oh my god, Briar won't leave me alone," and Mandy thought, quote, "Oh, this isn't a bit? I thought you were just running with her. Oh no, Briar really is just that girl." Mandy said Briar is like a, quote, annoying little sister, but she also said Briar is really sweet and has a soft side. For example, in episode 2, when Mandy lip-synced and took off the table look and all of the little ornaments fell all over the stage, apparently a little ceramic rabbit rolled all the way to the back. Then, when Mandy got off stage and joined the other girls, Briar came up to her with tears in her eyes, holding the bunny, and said to Mandy, quote, "I'm so freaking happy that you're still here," which really speaks to Briar's soft side. Cara then said the other part of the question, which was, which queen held it together on camera but was a train wreck off camera? Mandy said the easy answer is Athena, but actually she didn't really hold it together on camera either. She said actually it might be Kenya Pleaser because she has a great personality, however she does have dark and breakdown moments, and she did get in her head a lot more than what was shown in the episodes. Another question for Mandy was what would have been her Snatch Game character. Mandy said she had two choices. They were George Takei from Star Trek, and the other option was the Virgin Mary. And finally, an audience member mentioned that earlier at the viewing party, Carson had said his favourite guest judge was Olivia Newton-John because he was such a fan of Grease growing up. But the question was, who is Carson's least favourite guest judge and why? Someone shouted out Nicki Minaj, presumably because of all of the recent controversy to do with Nicki becoming more right-wing and aligning herself with Donald Trump and Erica Kirk, which I talked about in my previous Roscoe's recap. Carson said that's a good answer, and he was there when Nicki was a guest judge on season 12, and he liked her back then, but not so much anymore. But the other answer that Carson was going to say is, although he was not on set for this one, when Joel McHale was the guest on season 11, Carson said Joel is really nice in real life, but, quote, he was so annoying on that episode with Michelle and I felt for her. So there you go, there was the Roscoe's recap for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 18 Episode 3. Let me know in the comments if you agreed with Mandy's elimination this week, or do you think that she was set up to fail? If you'd like to watch my videos before they go on YouTube, as well as see the things that I cut out of my Roscoe's recaps, as well as other exclusive content, please check out my Patreon. It just costs a few dollars a month and it really does help support the channel, and I'll put a link to my Patreon in the description. I'd also like to say thank you so much to all of my amazing Patreon members. I really do pinch myself all the time thinking about how lucky I am to have all of you supporting me, and it really does make a huge difference to the channel, so thank you all so much. Please make sure you like and comment on this video to help boost it in the algorithm and promote it to more people. And please make sure you subscribe. It's free, it only takes 2 seconds, and it really does make a big difference to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the future for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.